I'd like to call this meeting to order. Could we start with a roll call, please?
Alex Collazo. Brucey Cummings.
Here.
Caleb Gunter.
Here.
Carrie Ballinu.
Here.
Charlie Lykoff.
Lykoff, very good, I'm here.
Darren Heitner. Deborah Rosenbaum.
Here.
Gail Butler. Greg Martin.
Here.
Joanne Smith.
Here.
Marianne Saylor. Siler. Mary Peliquin.
Here.
Robert Payne. Steffi Pasco. And Tangerine Moore.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right,
It's very clear that it's gonna be in person.
Yeah.
We do have a quorum.
we have a flag now.
All
We can
right,
do the pledge of allegiance.
Wow.
all right.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Did everyone get the minutes? They were emailed out. Everyone have a chance to review the minutes from last meeting?
I had a chance to review the minutes and I see no changes needed to be taken, so I motion to.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None opposed. We'll move forward to Carl.
All right, well, good evening, everyone.
Hey.
It's been a while. It's been a long while, and it's good to see you in
15
person.
months.
Yeah. All right, so I do have a few things I want to share with you all as a board. As you know, recently we've started back with our events. As you know, in May, we did have the Great American Beach Party, and we had a really good turnout, as some of you all know. Coming up in a couple weeks, we'll have our 4th of July celebration, where we will have the Beach Boys as the headliner.
Oh.
Starlight Musicals started about
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. This Friday will be the 3rd week. So, you know, if you have a free evening and you wanna hear some music, feel free to come out to Holiday Park, 7 to 10.
Good time, it'll be Friday.
That is true.
There's also the
Every
the
Friday?
wave on the beach too.
Until
Every
August
Friday.
13th.
Every Friday on the phone.
There's also Friday night sound waves too,
That's correct.
so you have 2 venues.
Doesn't Carter Park also have,
Yep, I'm about to go over that now. So
wish they weren't all on the same night.
So they are. So Carter Park Jams is from 7 to 10, but is on select dates, which is July 16th,
Oh.
September 17th, and October 15th. Also, we have Sips and Sounds at Southside, which will take place this Sunday, where you'll also added the wine pairing with one of the chefs that we have there as well. So that is gonna be a pretty interesting evening
that
for you all. That is this Sunday from 2 to 6.
It's the last Sunday of every month. I've gone to it because DJ has an art class.
Yeah.
It's very fun. It's you know, and it's not, you don't have to be like a super artist because I'm not. It's just a fun time. It's very fun. Very fun. And the band is really good.
Yeah,
So pretty hot. So wear your hair up.
And it's at 2:00?
starts at 2.
It's hot.
Yeah, it's fun though.
Also, the 1st of July, we have the dive tower setting. Some of you, I believe we already sent out an intro, but I wanna give you as a reminder, the 27-meter dive tower, sort of, if you would call it like a event, if you would, parking's at DC Alexander. And if you're interested, make sure you RSVP. It'll start at 2:30. And last but not least, as some of you all know, there is no meeting in July, but we will reconvene in August. That's all I have.
Any questions for Carl? Oh,
I have one, do you have any, and I'm sorry to just ask you this out of the blue, but do you have any idea when the Carter Park pool is gonna be?
Yes, so we anticipate it being towards the end of next week.
Oh,
It's really contingent quite a bit on the weather, cause we've had some severe weather which really has delayed it, cause we anticipated it opening this past week. But I've been told that depending on the weather, it should be towards the end of next week or the following, so we should, so within the next 2 weeks.
you don't like Riverland? I'm in Bath.
Oh, you have to try Riverland. Riverland's
I don't wanna be in the,
we love Riverland.
What about it? Try what?
Riverland.
The
Riverland Park.
pool?
Oh,
Or
God,
the
I
what?
love that pool.
Really?
Love it.
Can anybody go or just?
Yeah, they've got lap swimming too.
okay, well, thank you, I just wanna know.
It's temperature
I'm in
controlled.
Bath, it's really hot.
Well, then start coming to 6:45 with us.
Okay, that's a problem.
6:45 in the morning?
6:45 in the morning? Uh-huh.
It's not gonna happen.
So I could offer you the 5:30.
Even better.
Do a few rounds for me.
Carl's signing up for that one.
Well, I'm up pretty early, so that would be fine with me, yeah.
Ah.
You gotta be there at 5:30.
Is this the time we should ask you questions?
Yes.
Because I had just sent you an email, I didn't know if it was appropriate to address any of that here.
No, so I did respond back to you. What Bruce is referring to is there's a property, I guess you'd say owner, if you will, by Ann Murray Park, and
Oh, yeah.
they've kind of, I guess you would say
The castle
encroached
owner.
into the
They kind
area
of-
there.
It's on the front page of
Crowded out
the
the
paper.
park and put in their
The castle
fence.
owner.
So the only, and I actually went by there this morning so I could visualize it myself, and the only thing I can add to that at this point is our city attorney's looking into it, and they're gonna be weighing in on that relatively soon after they, review the materials and information
Did he
afforded
have
to
a
them.
survey done?
Yes, it is.
I believe he did,
He did.
cause that's what kind of
And that-
started the,
As an aside, we sold, my family and I sold the property. Mr. Cole,
We usually do a survey when you. when
You
sell.
actually sold the property at the castle?
yes, we did. Yeah. Yes, we own it.
Okay.
Did you own it
Wow.
or you
Yeah,
just?
and we knew that the park was on private property. But for years, nobody cared because we didn't want to start what's exactly happened.
understood.
Okay, so we never did anything about it. But the new owner had a survey done and went at it full Monty, if you will, and put up the fence.
Wow.
But he's entitled to because it's his property.
No, he is not.
That's not-
Land, yeah, well,
Anyways.
maybe because of different rules, laws and regs. I understand that if somebody has not designated that as their property, and it hasn't been for the last 40 years or so.
Well, yeah, and so what
And
I
the
would say
city's
to
been-
that.
There's prescriptive rights and things like that.
Yeah.
What I would say to this, at this juncture is, our city attorneys are on
Yeah,
it.
they-
They're
it's on
gonna
hold,
do
yeah.
their due diligence and go.
There has to be some type of compromise.
Yeah.
You don't look hopeful.
If you bought it and it was part of the property,
The survey indicates that the.
No, I totally understand. And don't forget, I work in the legal field, so I get it.
it's on the front page of the paper today.
Oh, yes, it was.
Poor Jay. Makes him look like a real
What
hard.
did, I didn't,
Jay Scheckman was on
why
that.
did it make him look?
He just looked mad.
Oh,
Well, I just
well, he
don't
was
blame him.
pretty upset.
Yeah,
Don't blame him. But anyway,
okay.
All right, everybody good with the department update?
yes.
We'll move on to item number 2, the EDSA dedication presentation.
Can I ask you just to click it
Oh,
forward
absolutely.
for me? Thank you. Okay, well, good evening, everybody. My name is Doug Smith. I'm very pleased to be here this evening to make a presentation to you. And to be here on behalf of all my colleagues at EDSA. So EDSA is a design firm. We're a land planning and land use planning, landscape architecture, a focus in our practice. We're based here in Fort Lauderdale, and really the firm was started here in Fort Lauderdale by a gentleman that you see on the screen there, Edward D. Stone Jr., back in 1960. And so he's the subject of this brief presentation this evening. We're coming before you with a proposal to honor Mr. Stone with naming a portion of the Riverwalk as the Edward D. Stone Jr. Trail at the Riverwalk History District. So in case you're not familiar with who Ed Stone Jr. is, share a little bit of information here about his career and some of his contributions to Fort Lauderdale as a businessman, but also as a resident who was very passionate about the quality of life here in his own adopted community. Ed came to Fort Lauderdale in the late 1950s as a fresh graduate from the Harvard Graduate School of Design. He started his career with Fred Stressaw, another pioneering landscape architect here in town and in the state of Florida. And then soon thereafter, he decided to go out on his own and start EDSA, Edward D. Stone Jr. and Associates. He focused really at the beginning on expanding what was considered the traditional role of a landscape architect. And during the first decade of practice, he really established the firm as internationally recognized in urban design, community planning, and open space planning. And he was recognized really throughout the world in many international locations, but more importantly here in South Florida as well, with the projects that he began to work on. So under his leadership, EDSA flourished, and also under Ed's influence, the city fathers here in Fort Lauderdale embarked on a couple of really game-changing public works projects that really spurred a renaissance here in Fort Lauderdale in the 80s and 90s. Of course, that's the beachfront revitalization and the Riverwalk. These two landmark projects have resulted in over $1 billion of private sector investment in our city, and they've really improved public access to these really wonderful assets for both residents and visitors. To give you a sense of some of Ed's accomplishments in his career, he served on 3 consecutive terms of the U.S. Commission of Fine Arts. He was appointed to those terms by Presidents Nixon, Ford, and Carter. And he was awarded by the American Society of Landscape Architects the ASLA Medal, which, quote, is the highest honor bestowed upon a landscape architect whose lifetime achievements and contributions to the profession had a unique and lasting impact on the welfare of the public and the environment. And now, above all of that, those who knew Ed or had the pleasure of working with him really knew him as, and remember him as a gentleman, a true gentleman, who personified really the qualities of honesty, frankness, and respect. Go ahead, Steph. So Ed most definitely left a legacy here in our community. In addition to the beach revitalization and the Riverwalk, he actively led a lot of EDSA's design on some well-known local projects here in Fort Lauderdale, such as Broward County Library, Holiday Park, and the Marriott Harbor Beach, just to name a few. In fact, we're proud at EDSA to continue to carry on his legacy. We've completed well over 100 projects or assignments here in the city of Fort Lauderdale over 60 years. And in Greater Broward County, as you can see, over 375 different commissions or studies or projects of some kind. Ed was also very active in the community. He served on the Bonnet House Board for many years, contributing his talents there to help preserve that historic gem. And we continue to carry that torch today. We continue to have a seat on the Bonnet House as well as the Stranahan House Historic Museum and also on the Riverwalk Inc. Board. Go ahead, Steph. So as part of this process and this proposal, we've received 30 letters of support that were included in the packet that hopefully you all had a chance to review. Different community leaders and colleagues of Ed's over time, and I think you'll probably recognize several of the names that you see there on the screen. Go ahead. So each of the letters that was submitted had a commendation of some kind to Ed. You can read some of these quotes. And I guess I'll also like to point out that we do have the full support on this proposal from Gina Ellis, who's the CEO of Riverwalk Inc., and Patricia Zeiler, who is with the City of Fort Lauderdale Historic Society. Go ahead. So I'll just close real quickly by sharing with you this vision for what we would like to do with the commemorative monuments on the Riverwalk. These would note, obviously, as you can see, the Edward D. Stone Junior Trail on the Riverwalk at the History District. And we'd like to place one of these monuments kind of on each end, east and west ends of that History District zone. Of course, on the east end would be close to the railroad tracks, and on the west end would be a little closer to the asphalt. With that, I think the last slide is just thank you, and I'm happy to, that's just an overview of who Ed Stone was and why we're bringing this proposal to the board, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'd like to make a motion that we go to council, city, and that we're in favor of this.
Recommend.
Recommend we built this to us.
I second.
Does it have any financial impact on the city?
The only one I can think of would be the monument cost, which would be borne by EDSA.
Okay, I figured. And you said that Gina is supports it. Did the Riverwalk board itself, did it come before the Riverwalk board? Did they vote one with the other?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I can tell you, they have discussed it, they're in favor of it.
I know, and I had a lot of conversation with Gina through the process of putting this together, and the idea of naming it as a trail, really, I think it was through some of the discussions with her board.
Okay.
So I do know that whether it's officially come as a recommendation from the board, I don't know, but I know they've had conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Has anybody else had a hand in Riverwalk in terms of its development, or is it entirely EDSA?
Well, I would say over the life of the envisioning of the Riverwalk, which probably goes back 30-40 years.
Right.
EDSA was the lead designer for all the work that you see that's been implemented over time. Of course, the city of Fort Lauderdale, in some of the later phases, kind of picked up the ball and did some of that work internally.
Okay.
Just following kind of the design language, I guess, if you
But you basically had the higher.
But we've been, for the portions that got implemented early and really the mainstay of the Riverwalk was EDSA as the lead designer. And of course, other firms involved in the consortium.
Of course.
To carry that.
Well, I was just getting ready to text Doug Coolman to see if he knew about this, and I see he's on
Oh,
your
yeah.
page, so if he's good with it, I'm good with it.
I worked under Doug Swain for 12 or 13 years before he retired,
Oh,
before I
really?
became a principal.
He's in my neighborhood, so I know. All right, good. Forward.
Any other discussion? Put a vote.
Yes.
Roll call.
Alex Collazo, Brucey Cummings,
Yes.
Caleb Gunter,
Yes.
Carrie Velenu,
Yes.
Charlie Lykoff,
Yes.
Darren Heitner, Deborah Rosenbaum,
Approved.
Gail Butler, Greg Martin,
Yes.
Joanne Smith,
Yes.
Mariana Seiler, Mary Peliquin,
Yes.
Robert Payne, Steffi Pasco, Tangerine Moore.
Yes. Motion.
Motion passed.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks, Doug.
Reserved.
Next up on the agenda, we have the
You're welcome.
Florida Panthers War Memorial update.
All right.
I'm looking forward to this.
You know what, I think the only thing, eventually, there is a link embedded in that picture that I'd like to show a video at some point, if
Okay.
we're able to do that, if not, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for having me and giving me the opportunity to present an update for the War Memorial on behalf of the Florida Panthers and the War Memorial Benefit Corporation. My name's Bryce Holwick. I'm about 6 weeks on the job, taking over for Sean McCaffrey, who's moved on in another role with one of the Vial family enterprise companies. I have a strange background in construction development, operations, food and beverage operations, and hockey. So I'm super proud to be overseeing this project for the group. So without further ado, let me try to click the video. See if it works.
See. Dropbox.
Not gonna work. If it's not connected to the internet, that's fine. Yeah, we can send it out after. What was shown there,
Send it, yeah,
absolutely,
send it
yeah, I'll
to
make
me.
sure to send, if you receive this over email, you should be able to click the link and all that, so we'll resend it though.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. What we would have seen there, is the unveiling of the War Memorial and the project at the groundbreaking ceremony on May 25th. I'm not sure if anyone was there, but kind of goes over the vision, and has our president CEO, Matt Caldwell speaking. And it really gives a good vision of what it's going to be in a short 14 months. Slide. Update on the permitting. So as of the last couple of weeks, we received our last permit on vertical. You see there on the bottom left. The right side's obviously our timeline of where we're at. Notably on around the number 9 mark there for plumbing, engineering, mechanical, electrical work going on the site right now. Yes, sir.
You have utility relocation start March 15th, that I guess that's already happened. There's power lines that cross the park to get to War Memorial. Are those lines gonna be buried as part of this project?
That is my understanding, working with FPL to bury those.
Will
Yes.
they be buried, so your lease only goes up to kind of like heading towards Sunrise Boulevard. It goes up to, I guess, the edge of that square grass field, I think. But then those lines continue on, like would you bury them up to where your lease ends, or would they just be buried from the point where they enter the park? Do you know?
I don't know. I
Okay.
can certainly, I can defer to John, but I'll definitely look into that.
Okay, I guess I would just say that if you guys are just burying them, hopefully they're being buried all the way to where they enter the park. But if you guys, for whatever legal reasons, you can only do it up to your lease, I would just say, let's make sure that there's a conversation with whoever with it. I don't know if it needs to be with AECom or just with Phil, to make sure that we just go ahead and get them buried like all the way up to where they enter the park, because as AECom goes forward with all the stuff it's gonna do for Parks Bond, we don't need to just be moving that utility pole right outside your lease area. We need to not have overhead lines running across the park. And so it'd be great to just do it as one fell swoop.
If I remember correctly, those lines are there by utility easement with the city of Fort Lauderdale, so wherever that easement runs, whether there's a lease or not, so whatever they're gonna do there will still remain in the utility easement. So it's not just, those lines aren't there just at the beginning or ending of their lease, they run from north to south, basically, towards the park, but it's all in the FPL utility easement that the city granted for the Power and Light many years ago.
Right, I'm just saying that if they're gonna bury, we would want them buried
Buried on the other, probably back to the other side of the.
to the other side of where the horses are.
We'll definitely look at it. It's a great comment. If you just look at simple efficiency of, if you're already doing it, just can we take it out, so we can definitely socialize that and go
Cool,
back to
thank
those. Yeah.
I'm just curious why you refer to MEP as PEM. Because usually, I do construction lines, usually MEP, mechanical engineering.
Yes, I've seen it. These
I've
were,
never seen it
this was
before.
from the GC itself.
Oh, is it?
itself.
It's interesting,
I
cause
see.
I work in
yeah.
construction law, so.
No answer
Oh, that's okay.
of why the format
I'll
and
dig
why
down.
the
I'll
P
dig into it.
precedes the others, but we can consider that for all intents and
No,
purposes.
it's
That's
okay, yeah,
that's
I knew,
yeah.
I understood it.
So
Here, no.
I've never seen it that way either.
there are
I've never
actually
seen
gonna
it
be
this way.
I've
two
not.
hockey
So
rinks
you
there?
got somebody in construction.
There will be two. So one of them, as we know, in Coral Springs, that's where the current practice facility is right now with 3 sheets of ice. One of them being the Panthers practice facility, which when it's not used by the Panthers, it's used as a community rink. This will have the same concept, 2 sheets of ice. One is strictly a community rink, The other one is the Panthers rink, and when it's not used by the Panthers, it will be a community shared. So 2 sheets of ice.
I would assume that that would be off-season though.
When they're on the road, so whenever,
So people will be using it in season while they're on the road.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And why the need for 2? There was a reason for that and I can't remember what it was. Cause they have their own practice rinks elsewhere, et cetera.
Yes, Panthers Ice Den, it's an aged facility. I think that, and not being in the process for the past probably years at this point in the development of this, I'm sure the conversation has gone around the development of the area, whether that's improvement or bringing recreation to the city.
Are they moving their practice, this is gonna be their practice facility too? Okay, so
Yes.
that answers
You
your
know,
question.
when you talk that
That
way,
this is gonna be
no
the
one here
practice
can
and
hear
the
you.
other one
Yeah.
is gonna be just why?
But that'll become something else.
Yeah, so the Panthers Ice Den in Coral Springs will just become a recreational facility.
Because it's too old? Is
That
that
would,
what you said?
that would be one of the reasons.
The demand for hockey out there.
I was gonna say, yeah, there's a huge demand for youth hockey.
Yeah.
Most of the time those kids are playing at 5:30 in the morning while you guys are swimming.
That's what
There you go.
To be honest, that's the ice time for those kids, and so I think to facilitate the need, by the way, I'm not a hockey player, my kids were volleyball and basketball players, but it's no different than tennis courts and soccer fields. I think if you're gonna do it,
Yeah.
put it up so that you can make sure you handle the demand as we go forward.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's, an attempt to contribute and grow the sport of ice hockey in South Florida. I grew up in Los Angeles, so this was a similar thing that I went through growing up playing hockey there. Any other questions on this slide, timeline?
No, I just wanna know why the GC decided to do PPP.
I'm gonna find that
Because this carries in construction, and he says the same thing.
It's usually MEP.
Yep, there you go, Charlie. I see it all day
The
long.
next meeting I
I'll
want
make
to
a motion that we amend the slide.
Cause you're confusing them.
Yeah.
Well, those of you that are in construction will appreciate this version of the previous slide in a Gantt chart form.
Yeah.
So this says the exact same thing, probably says MEP in there somewhere,
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
so we'll change that
It
for
says PMV.
We'll change that for next one. And I'm gonna find out why they use that format.
That's what this software.
And if anybody doesn't know what MEP means, it's mechanical engineering and plumbing.
Have there been any unexpected hiccups, any issues?
There's been some tree roots that we ran into in some of the digging. So just trying to rectify that. It's not a showstopper, but just working around that.
Probably is for the trees, but
Yeah. But
who cares about them?
the plan to replant the trees, which I'm assuming has already been briefed. But noted. Next slide. May 25th, the groundbreaking ceremony, extremely well attended and received from the feedback that we got back from several members in the community. Was anyone here there? You were there? I think I remember seeing you there. It was, we had redone the actual auditorium with some artifacts that were in the original time capsule and displayed some items that will go in the new time capsule. So it's a neat event.
So is the right-hand picture, what,
They're done already. Ma'am, that's a rendering of one of the arenas, which will be the Panthers practice facility, practice arena. And when you have the opportunity to see the video, you'll see the entire, so you'll see the live concert venue, you'll see both arenas and the restaurant. Renderings, of course. What? Construction progress that I thought that would be beneficial to show you. These are as of probably a week or so ago, maybe a little bit more than that, but it's actually where this one was taken this is where we had the groundbreaking ceremony, so the stage was there, seating was here, so it was a really, really nice shot of the historical building there.
Is there any further demolition to that existing structure?
No, just upgrades, so we'll keep the signage, it's just upgrades and refurb.
When will the auditorium be available for use?
It's scheduled for August or September.
Tacking off that same question, when will we have a schedule? So last time there was this discussion, both at the Victoria Park Civic Association and I think here, there was a lot of discussion about how much of the auditorium will be for basically breaking down to 3 different types of uses. One would be, like you talked about, concerts. So that's, you know, that's something that you guys are hosting, you're generating revenue for you guys, concerts. Then there would be, I think there are some like things where you're going to do like the flower show, things like that, where it's a community event where someone basically leases the space from you to do their own community event. And then the category I personally am most interested in is just community use. So I know that the Club 55 and just hopefully anybody that wants to play indoor pickleball, it being available for just indoor community use, just call it like free play, like people come in, play pickleball, whatever. When will we know kind of the breakdown of that? Like how much is for, you know, concerts where you have to pay to get in, how much is for community events like flower show, things like that, where it's being leased out, and then how much is just open to the public either through a Parks and Rec department planned activities or I don't know what the structure, last time the structure of what that looked like hadn't been planned out yet, but there was definitely conversation that there would still be some level of community, just open play still available, even if that's through a planned, programmed, something through Parks and Rec.
Wasn't it that the city got it for 11 days a year?
No, 11 days a year is for the things like flower show. The city gets it 11 days a year to continue to have flower show and hopefully not gun show, but those other types of things that were there.
The orchid show needs to come back.
Yeah.
The orchid.
But then there was also going to be, and maybe there no longer is, but there was a discussion that there still would be some level of community access, like Club 55 being able to still use it, people still being able to do indoor pickleball. Because in general, you're doing your concerts on like a Friday or Saturday night, that's a lot of days that it's not really in use. And so when will we have a schedule to know kind of that breakdown? And then similarly, when you talk about the ice, you know, you have community use of the ice that could be league use or someone doing like a paid figure skating versus just kind of what you have at the ice den where it's just like come, you know, pay your $10, get your skates in like open skate. And when we have the breakdown to see also that, like when it's available just for like community open skate, like those 2 schedules.
Let me answer the 17 great questions here. So it is still the intent to have all 3 of those buckets that you said, so the live events, the community events, the 11 days, if that's the first I've heard 11 days, so excuse my.
That might not be I can't remember off the top of my head, there's a certain amount of days in the league, so.
Yeah.
And then more importantly, the community events. I would say that right now it's hard to give that timeline and breakdown because we don't know the schedule it's open. So we're not allowed to, we're unable to go out and start booking the space for anything from a wedding to an esports watch party. Really, it's endless of what we can do in there. So until we start booking it, then we can release the days and how many days would be left to community use.
Okay.
But it still is the intent.
And so is it gonna be just whatever days you can't book it for your own stuff, or is the city saying like, hey, we want X number of days so that we can still have indoor pickleball, or we want X number of hours?
Carl, can I ask a question? Is there a programming plan? Are we planning to add introduction to figure skating as part of our recreational program? Or is that a program that they're gonna run? And,
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I wanna say, you know, align it to youth basketball or youth soccer. Are we gonna try to program?
So we haven't had that discussion yet in its great detail, but the thought process would be is that once we kind of get together, you know, we'll kind of connect to see if there is some opportunities for youth play. Cause you know, to Carrie's point earlier, you know.
I think we might be talking about 2 different things. Bryce and I were talking about programming the non-ice portion of the of the War Memorial.
Yeah.
Greg is asking about programming, is the city gonna do any programming on the
So I'm
ice?
sorry, and I go to ICE, but it doesn't mean you don't program the rest of the facility also. I mean, and I think my first thought is, are we protecting Starlight Musicals, or are they gonna be doing concerts on Friday nights while we're doing Starlight Musicals?
No, so Starlight
Because Starlight
Music,
Musical doesn't wanna compete with
We're
like a
outside.
legacy thing,
We're
right.
outside, we're gonna
So,
stay outside.
but back to, you know,
I do.
I'm not open-minded, I don't have all the components, but is there a recreational programming
Love it.
plan for this facility outside of the private use of that?
not yet.
Not yet.
But when I guess this might be more of a question for you guys, like at what point do we say like, hey, you know, we would like to get Club 55 going back in here these number of days, or we would like to have indoor pickleball available this, I mean, or is it just kind of, they'll just tell us what days are available and we'll.
Right, so at the very genesis of this, when we had Club 55 in there doing indoor pickleball, especially during the summer during the hot months, you know, it was mentioned that, you know, we wanted to have some kind of access to still be able to allow that activity once the facility was kind of built out. And so those are still conversations that we need to continue to have. But the idea is that there would be some opportunities to do that.
I think really the city needs to hone in on the amount of time that they're gonna do for what Carrie's specifically talking about. What, between the ice skating and the pickleball, I mean, I think that the community deserves a certain amount of time that they know that they can go on this day, that day. One week could be one day a week, or whatever it is.
Yeah, cause before you know it, they'll take
Yeah,
the whole
because
thing
they'll have
away.
programmed it the entire year.
Yeah, you're right.
And they'll be very limited, you know. What I'm saying is you need a
You need to be
schedule,
proactive.
consistent with the schedule so that you know, okay, on Tuesdays on Tuesdays and Thursdays, this week and then the third week or whatever, I don't care what the schedule is, but a schedule that you can follow as
Yeah,
opposed to.
you can't
as
change
opposed-
every week.
Right,
No,
right.
it can't change every week.
Yeah.
It's something that you know that you can put on your calendar and that the first Tuesday in of the month, I can play pickleball.
Operating there, so.
So that's where it needs to go. It needs to
Well,
be
not
specific.
inside the War Memorial.
And then once we know those specific days that it's available, then lies on the shoulders of Parks and Rec as to how it's going to be programmed for the community. I think that's the route that it needs to go.
What's the delineation between War Memorial and the Panther part of the space? Is it all one open space, or is there are there doors, or?
It's
It's a rock
separate.
climbing wall.
It's separate.
There's an idea.
Well, there is, right? Isn't there a rock climbing wall like on the backs between the ice room and the,
I think we need
War
a
Memorial?
rock climbing.
that was in the
wall.
early renderings, there was.
It's still in discussion. I think there's some liability
Good luck.
issues with that.
Rock climbing's
I
nowhere
love
near as
the
dangerous as
idea.
ice skating,
Yeah,
kid,
really,
toe pick.
come on.
I love the idea.
Yeah, I do too.
It's fun.
But I won't be doing it.
That's okay, you can watch.
So I
But just
do wanna.
have the city program the wall.
Well, hold on, Karen.
Hold on. I'm a taxpayer, we can think on that.
So I wanna circle back to your comment. So to give you an idea, like during the winter, during the summer, you know, I'm sure there's gonna be opportunities in which, you know, I'll reach out to the Panthers to do some scheduling, especially for our youth, to visit the facility, to use it for camps and youth programs. There'll also be opportunities for us to include some pickleball, but a lot of that still has to be worked through because I don't even know if he's even gotten to the point where they know what their schedule is. So those are just conversations that we're gonna have leading up to this.
Is that building where the pickleball is now going?
So pickleball and War Memorial, we have, prior to the Panthers kind of taking over, there was, I wanna say 6 courts inside of the auditorium itself.
Is that building gonna be gone?
No,
No,
they're only
that's
adding
staying.
and
Oh,
refurbishing, yeah.
That's what I
so-
thought, but
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's the War Memorial portion, yeah.
well, then why are we talking about pickleball when they've already got a bunch of courts on pickleball?
Oh, wait, we're talking about two different things. There's outdoor courts.
Right,
They're talking about,
and they did some indoor courts too, for
the indoor
summers.
courts were inside War Memorial.
There's
indoor and
building-
outdoor courts.
That building that is right,
That's basketball.
Well, it was partially basketball and then they did some
The gym.
courts in there too.
The
It's a
Yeah,
big
you're
gym.
referring to the gymnasium. We
We
had
did
some
have some
temporary lines in there,
pickleball.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
That's all, I'm just saying
But
that
what Bruce is
building
referring
still
to is
gonna
that
be there.
we've kind of makeshift a few of the facilities to be able to accommodate indoor pickleball, especially during the summer.
Yeah,
I think my overall point is, and you know, I think I spent the better part of 2018 harassing Phil and anyone who would listen about this, like that we have a lack of indoor recreational facilities. And you know, I think that there's a lot of indoor recreational needs that could, and it just seems like it, you know, as they're programming, we should figure out what we want and come to them and say, hey, as you're programming, these are the things we would like to be able to do. Like, we would like to be able to do this and this and this, so that rather than just sitting back passively and saying like, hey, what can you guys, what's left over,
right.
come forward. And that doesn't mean we're gonna get it all, I mean, it's their facility, but certainly coming to the table and say, these are, we would, because I mean, you're absolutely right, like, if you're gonna do indoor pickleball or something like that, it has to be on a consistent schedule.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people have no idea when to show up. So I just think that we should be, especially like looking at the feedback AECom got and everybody, and looking at like, okay, what are our indoor recreational needs? And what would we like to be able to do? And then go ahead and dialoguing with them now about this is what we'd like to be able to do, so that they can kind of factor that in and say, okay, well, that won't really work because of this other thing, but this would work. That's my thought. But I think we have a lot of indoor recreational needs, and we don't have any indoor facilities, and we're probably not gonna be building any.
You don't wanna be left out.
Don't be left out.
Basically, that's what this is.
I mean, I can't even be in Club 55, so I'm not even speaking
No.
for
You
myself.
looked at me when you talked about Club 55.
Oh, no, I looked at Carl.
Nice deflection.
Club 55. What is Club 55?
It's our
Over
senior program.
55.
Oh, that one,
I could
that's right.
qualify for that.
Me too, me too.
I would like to be able to go play with them,
I have
get indoors.
I have something on a different outside subject. And I know I brought this up before, and every time you see me, I think I have to you, I will bring this up. That I know that the outdoor path has been compromised right now because it goes between pickleball and where the building is gonna be. And I understand that it would be like that now because of construction. But it is gonna be put back, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then good. So I'm always gonna ask this question. I'm one of those people that uses all the
Yeah.
walking paths
It'll
and
be
all the parks.
continuous behind the building and be landscaped and
Cool.
it'll be.
And you're not gonna make it be concrete. It's gonna be either mulch or pea gravel or not concrete.
I mean, I haven't seen it, we can look at what the gravel is, what the,
Yeah, no
my
problem.
understanding that was the case last time I looked at it specifically, but.
Okay.
That's for the
I mean,
rubber.
that
Every
would be-
time
that would be up to
you see
AECom.
me, you think he's a pain. Every time you see me, I do that with Lockhart too, with their walking path, and George English has been able to keep it, a nice small show. Us old people can't walk on cement a lot, so please don't.
Well, AECom needs to come up with what the overall walking said to look like for the whole park,
Well, I've said
and
that
then
to
the
them.
material, and then that should be the same.
Probably every one of these meetings, I'm gonna bring this up.
Everybody loves the material they used in Lewis Landing.
Can you mention
It's
the material
phenomenal.
you just
And
said, what's the material you just said that you prefer?
Anything but concrete or
I didn't
anything.
know if you
The
had a-
rubberized.
Rubberized, yeah.
Rubberized composite mulch.
It's the best.
That's cool, or just mulch, or just pea gravel.
We'll get back to you on that, but that was the intent, but
I think
you know,
with
it's
the
been a while
mulch though,
since-
doesn't that,
But I know
like
we'll connect.
flea
Okay,
rag?
well, I
Yeah.
mean, because I know you're building an ice rink and we're here talking about pickleball and all these things.
And here all we
I
want is a
don't
little
want my-
pool so we
I
can
don't
jump
want
in as
my,
we're walking.
Walking path to be.
Well, it seems logical it wouldn't be cement because the rest of it isn't, so it'd be logical to continue to be
Yeah, but common sense does,
non-cement, non-concrete, but
Logical
we'll.
is,
we'll verify.
You know, and I'm not, again,
sometimes,
I will
sometimes,
hammer this.
sometimes common
We'll get
sense
back to you.
eludes us.
All right,
That's true, it's a good
takes a
question, I'm glad you
village.
asked.
Okay.
And it'll keep honing in on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are we at on a rooftop beer garden?
Oh, yeah,
Did that
right.
die? Is that alive?
No, it's on the east side of the
serious?
building.
Here, is it on
Okay.
this drawing where it would be?
Is it gonna be, when you're on it, I mean, I looked at the drawing, it
It's
seemed like,
probably in the
it seemed
video
like the
that's
edge of
embedded
the-
in picture.
of the actual ice thing, basically when you're standing on it, will you be able to see over the top of the ice building, or are you kind of below? Cause the ice building sticks up, okay.
So you're not
Probably
gonna be
the,
able to see that.
Actually, is it right there?
Probably the very first
Yeah,
slide
it's
would
a-
show the rendering. So
Where would it
No,
be?
it's on the other side.
so the restaurant is actually on this backside
Yeah.
It's on the
with the
back
beer
side.
garden
Or look in
patio.
my
Oh.
walking path.
With little
Yeah.
water pulling.
I mean, I think with
So
the
we can drop water
with the
balloons on top of
advancements
it if you want.
in construction technology, I think we could just go ahead and do the entire roof of the ice hockey buildings as just
Grass.
rooftop park. I think we could just do the whole thing at this point in time. It'll support the way.
We'll bring Sal here, the construction manager, you fight with him.
That's just what they wanna hear right now.
We've had a,
If I'm telling you, if you did that, you could lease that out for an outdoor restaurant and you would make back what you had to
Oh, yeah,
spend.
that would really
It would be a
great.
beautiful outdoor restaurant. You
It
cover the
would.
whole thing with fake grass.
It
You
would be
have
great.
like, oh, it would be beautiful.
Not fake.
Well, real grass gets so heavy because of the water retention.
Yeah,
But
fake
I'm
grass
telling-
holds a lot of water.
Just think of it as like a combination of like Parks and Ocean and the wharf, like a combination of those two things on the roof of there.
Oh, that's what they wanna hear right now. Look at it, it's already, I mean,
Yeah, but it would be revenue generating, I'm telling you, you
Those
have
are
picnic
all-
tables, fake grass.
Those are all
Weddings,
solar
it'd be
panels,
weddings
it's
up
all
Those aren't
gonna
solar
be
panels.
totally off the grid. Yeah, right.
Those aren't solar panels.
No kidding. They should be.
They should be a rooftop fake grass restaurant patio.
I think we're digressing,
Oh,
Carrie,
yeah.
you need to
Yeah.
move
No,
this
Bryce is
along.
new, Sean heard all of this.
Come on, Carrie.
Bryce is new.
I
It
never
would be a
heard
really
this.
cool outdoor patio and restaurant.
Yeah, I
A
remember,
little-
I
it's not
remember
gonna be
seeing
on
the
the-
renderings
Little
of it.
outdoor patio?
No, it'll be a nice sized
It's
restaurant.
If we're gonna be here all night long, we
It'll
don't
be
do
about
this.
4,000 square feet.
You're talking about the ground level restaurant?
no,
Oh, the
no,
outdoor?
yeah, exactly.
Again, once you have an opportunity to watch the video, it'll
It'll all be.
But that outdoor one came from
It came from your idea.
Came from the original, from talking about,
It
hey.
came from your idea, it did, I mean, it just
That's
evolved
right.
into that, and it's a more.
So Neil Bryce is here and Bryce is from LA, you know, the sky's the limit, maybe it's like, do the whole rooftop, man.
It would
Do
be
it.
so cool if you did it all natural.
Oh, it would,
It would be like the cat's meow. You would get the whole world here. Oh, no, let's not do that.
Well, okay.
Alright, do we have anything else for?
No,
Don't ask the question.
no, we don't have anything
I got
else.
brushed up on my pickleball and my construction.
Thank you.
Pickleball, you definitely have to.
Did you say pickleball? Oh, I haven't. Does anybody in here play pickleball?
I play.
Yeah, a little bit.
I do.
Thank
I didn't even know what it was until
I was like badminton.
he started going on.
I just bought a badminton set for my backyard, yeah.
Just
Spent a whole
saw
meeting on
the place over
pickleball.
in Plantation that
I spent about
actually has
10
some
of them.
Okay, so
badminton.
You could put, you could totally put a,
Badminton.
you could
It seems like all
put
the
badminton up there, you could put
pickleball
tetherball.
I know
You
Phil's
just-
tired of talking about pickleball, he hears it all the time.
Alright,
Alright,
But he
moving
hasn't heard
forward.
about
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
thank you, Bryce.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Good
very
seeing
much.
you again.
I see you guys.
Bye-bye.
It says the fastest growing sport in America.
Stop that, Bryce.
Moving forward, we
I
have
can't get
um
this bill.
an overview of the city manager's recommended
Oh, come on,
budget
Phil.
from Director Phil Thornberg.
I know.
Okay, order.
Join the party,
I
Phil.
mean, when you look at the cost of
Would
the
really help if all
Carrie.
taken out.
Hi, everyone.
Really curious here.
Phil, join the party.
We don't wanna act anymore.
Do you wanna talk about
We don't
pickleball?
have to do this.
Cooped up.
Phil, you wanna talk about
We're done
pickleball?
soon. We can talk to
Phil's lost total control. I don't know what. You really don't want to raise your hand. All right, so I just wanna give a brief overview of the preliminary budget that was recommended by the city manager to the Budget Advisory Board and the City Commission. Remember, this is all subject to change, and you may have already know this information, but I just wanted to bring it to you on a high level, and if there's any questions you may have, I can try to answer those. But kind of going into it, the city had about a $20 million deficit, mainly from labor increases, mainly on police and fire, on their union negotiations, something like that. So as he went into the budget preparation, he was looking at $20 million to find in order to make it happen. So we initially were scrambling, looking for how we could increase revenues or cut expenses and what programs we needed to get rid of, things like that. And luckily, a couple things came up kind of towards the end. One was the CARES funding from the federal government.
Actually, there was about $10 million or so that was allocated to, in general fund, these CIP projects, capital improvement projects that were CARES fund eligible. So what they decided to do was take that money, put it into the capital improvement program, and then take that general fund dollars that were allocated to those projects and move it into the general fund for operating dollars. So that covered about half of it. The other half was, as you may have seen, that the property values in the property appraiser were higher than they had initially estimated. So this is probably the first year that what we first heard from the property appraiser was quite a bit different than what was reality, maybe only about a month later. But when they went through the real numbers, the city had about another $9 to $10 million in property values revenue. So that made up to 20 million. So all of a sudden, everything was back to normal and we're good to go. So at this point, it's recommended the millage rate stays the same for about the 17th year in a row, whatever it is, 1.119, something like that.
Yeah.
And then as far as Parks and Recreation goes, really the only main thing in there and we didn't ask for a lot this year because we really didn't think we needed a lot, plus we knew it was going to be a tight budget. So we did get funding to help us with our new outreach to use the school board properties. So we've been working on that for quite some time, and the school board is finally starting to step up and allowing us to access their properties. But one thing they wanted us to do, which we understood, was the safety end of it. So we need to make sure that it's safe, not only with fencing to make sure that it's clear, but also in the mornings and in the evenings we've been required to unlock and lock the properties. Actually, in the evenings, their staff opens it, and then the rangers would close it, and then on the weekends we would open and close it. Problem is, right now our rangers are spread thin, already too thin, so we weren't going to be able to make that commitment. So the manager did agree to give us money to actually probably use a private security company, because we do have, the sites are spread out all over the place, so it makes a lot more sense to have a company that's going to have people all over the place that can do it all at once, because they're typically going to be dawn to dusk on the weekends and then at dusk on during the week. And so for the 3 or 4 rangers that are on staff in the evening, it's just they can't get around to them all at the same time, of course. So anyway, so that's in his current budget. The only thing that was requested that is not was we are having a challenge. We've always had a challenge. Those have been around a while know I'm not a big fan of public restrooms. They're a challenge. But you gotta have them, I understand that as well. So, and we're having a lot more challenges here lately with public restrooms. A lot of it is homeless related, a lot of it is use related, vandalism. For whatever reason, the challenge has got even challenger. Challenging more, that's the word. So what we were looking to do, what we've already kind of done, started to work with some of our staff to try to cover additional restroom cleanings and checking, and also paid a little overtime, paid a little part-time to do that, because it just wasn't something that we could just not take care of. And so we did ask for additional funding to bring on some more part-time people to increase our bathroom cleaning and actually take it on in-house. Our contractor is probably the best we've ever had, but they're still not very good. I think it's just the nature of the business. Pardon my pun, but it's a challenge. It's a challenge to find a good restroom contractor. And I think a lot of it is if you look at their bids, they don't pay them a lot. Every day it's a different person, and some are hard to communicate with, so it's a real challenge. So we wanted to bring it in-house because we thought we could do it much better, but we would have to hire some full-time people. And of course, we're paying $15 an hour now to the city for a rightful wage for people, and I'm sure they're paying their people probably half that if they're paying them that much. So it was going to cost us some more money to do it in-house, and it just didn't come in the budget as funded positions this year. So we're still working on it. We still are internally working on it and trying to work through a plan because it used to be streetlights. You know, you always got something that's like at the top of your list. You get more complaints on anything else. I think right now the most complaints we get are the restrooms. And
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
About the security, because it kind of all falls together, right? And what's the philosophical decision to go with a third-party security vendor versus hire more park rangers? I'm gonna go way back in the day. I mean, the beach guards were always kind of the guys in charge of the beach, and the park rangers were in charge of the parks, and the police always helped them. And I know that there were times when you cut back on the budget, but has there been a look into hiring more park rangers so that we can take care of some of the concerns in the parks and just kind of have that scenario there? I'm not saying I'm not suggesting they are gonna clean the bathrooms. I'm saying that with more park ranger presence, I'm part of the park. I'm here, I think they may deter some of that vagrancy or some of those concerns, but has that been looked at versus a third-party contractor who's just gonna send a guy out who has no time to park? You know, that's just a guy showing up in a car saying, this is where I gotta sit today.
right. So you're exactly right. So the idea with opening and closing the gates at the school property, really that's all we need is somebody to go out and open and close the gate. They don't really need to have any contact or, you know, skills with the public, things like that, because they're only there to make sure there's nobody in the area and lock it up and leave. So they're there 30 minutes and there's gonna be about probably 20 sites. So in order for the rangers, if we wanna do that, we'd have to have a lot more rangers. But to your point, good point, we have been asking for rangers, but they never have been funded. And secondly, now the park rangers report to police department. So that move was made a few years ago, so we bring that up from time to time. Actually, last year, I made the same request, and I said either let's hire more rangers, and if we can't do that, can we hire some of the third party, and neither one was funded. This year, they decided to, you know, they could do the third party, would be a lot cheaper, again, not getting the same service as you would with a full-time park ranger or part-time park ranger, but just the cost, the benefits and everything else that the city pays for their employees compared to what a third party is.
Yeah.
But you're right, I mean, we've always said the rangers are understaffed. I mean, there's probably right now, there's maybe 4 rangers on working right now
That's only 4?
in the city.
Wow.
Because they're working 2 shifts, they're working 7 days a week, and there's 20, 25 of them, so whatever that math is. So, you know, there's not many at one time, and they're roving around and they're going to the hot spots and you know, when soccer's going on or something's, you know, baseball's going on somewhere, they're usually try to be there when it starts and kind of when it's over. But they don't, they can't stay. They keep roving. So it's always been an under positioned area, but haven't had any luck since I've been here to actually expand it some, maybe a little bit from time to time, but nothing substantial.
By any chance, have you ever thought about just having a person stay in the restrooms and just oversee, as some of the different restaurants will have somebody there that
costs money.
is,
We put a ranger in the park before we put a valet in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Would you prefer to have a ranger in the park before you have a valet person in the bathroom?
personally, that would be fine, but I just wondered if they might cut down on some of the vandalism during the times.
Well, no, it would definitely help, but again, it comes down to money. I mean, if you look at the beach restroom in what we call Beach Park now, it used to be South Beach. That one gets the most cleanings, and I think it's 3 or 4 times a day. So it's still, nobody's there all the time, but it's still, we're clean, we have to keep it. And but still, if we tried
I thought
to.
we were doing a good job, to tell you the truth.
If we had to put somebody
I've been in
there-
there a bunch of times, and usually it's been fairly good.
Yeah, but we have challenges.
Yeah, I'm
I
sure.
guarantee you we have challenges, and we have, unfortunately, have people that are, you know,
It's the nature of the
taking baths and cleaning them, you know. A lot of challenges to go on, and during the COVID times when soap and toilet paper were a hot commodity, they were, we couldn't keep them in stock, so. That slowed down some, but we still have that challenge as well, that people, instead of going to Publix, will go to the neighborhood bathroom.
So, yeah, I understand you can't put a valet in there, but what if they were open to it, whoever you hired to clean the bathroom, like if they, like let's say someone had, Holiday Park and George English and like those were their areas. What if like that person you put like a picture of the person in there with a note from them that says, "Hi, my name is whatever. I clean this restroom. I clean it 3 times a day. I'm doing my best to keep it clean for you. Can you please help me by making sure that you do whatever like our real problems are, like make sure that you throw all your paper in the waste bin, make sure you flush after yourself, whatever." Like maybe people, if they could if they realize that they're not doing
Have a robot.
a robot, that they're not just harming like some obscure person, like they're making this person's job more
That is
difficult.
a point.
Because we can't put cameras in there, we can't put a valet, like we can't use punishment in any way. Maybe we just appeal to people's.
I would say,
It'd be a cheap option.
I would say the people that would look at the picture and would care about the note aren't the ones that are tearing the bathrooms out.
Right.
We're making an assumption. Maybe people are better than we give them
Carrie,
credit for.
it's
We're in them every day. I can guarantee you that those individuals.
I mean, my son was at practice one afternoon, he went to 6 o'clock practice. Parked his brand new 2020 Jeep, right? Went into practice, he was swimming on the east side of Carter Park Pool, so the car is further away from where his bag is. And some kid at 5 after 6 somehow got into his car, cause they have those little things that they can reprogram or whatever. Get in the car, luckily the car didn't have any gas in it. Anyways, he went on a joyride for like 10 minutes, the car, and since it had no gas, he totally destroyed the car. So those type of people don't care about this kind of stuff. Literally destroy the car.
They don't care about this.
Yeah, I wanna go and they're right. I mean, I think the people that read it are the people that aren't gonna be the problems. And unfortunately, I worked in Holly Park for 2 years, 100 years ago. It's just kind of folks are roaming through and are trying to, I would love to say, look, I think increased supervision would help with all those things. And I think the park rangers are the answer to that. So Phil, I wanna say, I'd love to help you continue to try to pursue additional funding for park rangers, because when those guys are hanging around Carter Park, particularly the little kids, it's like, come on guys, you're not doing this. We're not all gonna do that. And there was a presence there when a park ranger would show up, and it wasn't the police, it was a different presence. I felt like they more owned the park. I handle,
More respected.
you handle these 4 parks, and these are my parks, and I kind of rotate those parks. So I know this is a very difficult thing, and I'm not here to throw this out, but I guess I want to pledge that I would like to support you in your request for additional funding for additional park rangers, because we have great parks, and if our community is scared to go there because their cars are gonna get broken into, or their kids are gonna witness things they don't wanna see, or they're not comfortable in the bathrooms, we spend a whole lot of money on a lot of lights and a lot of fields, but people aren't comfortable going there. So that's my soapbox for that.
Are the park rangers scheduled at a certain time to be at each park? So if you have 4 park rangers, you got 20 parks, so they assign 5 parks. So are they staying at these parks for 2 hours each, and by the 8-hour shift or 10-hour shift, they making their way back to these parks about 2 times? They're doing a 2-round trip to visit the parks?
No, so I would say we have almost 100 parks, and I would say out of the ones that they patrol, you're probably looking at 60 to 70 of those. So they know the times for.
And then they get calls.
Yeah.
So they'll get the call to say, I'm having a birthday party at George English, we're having a party, can you come over?
They sing that way now. They may be at Carter Park, for example, or at Hardy Park, and then, it's a great point. They'll get a call and say, something's going on in this other park, so they have to leave.
Yeah.
So we have our main. We usually try to have one Holiday kind of hanging out some at Carter kind of hanging out some kind of the southwest, the northwest, and so they're kind of spread out, and they kind of know what's going on and when people are going to be there and when they're leaving an event or coming to an event. So in the evening, if they want to make sure that people can walk to their cars, things like that. But they can't be everywhere all the time, and so they just use their best judgment, knowing we have a schedule on what's going on at the sites, and then they'll be at wherever they can be at that would make the most impact at the time.
How many rangers do we have?
Since they don't report to us anymore, I don't know the exact number, but I think it's around 20 or so.
Out of our 100 parks.
Yeah, they're not part of
We'll
our
go big
budget.
60 months.
Yeah.
They used to be part of our budget,
Or
they're not
they're
part of our
rolling
budget.
it off
Yeah,
like
you got-
full
you only
time,
working with
or
half
like
of them.
60 part-timers.
Some work 7 days a week. So they're spread thin.
Yeah, they are.
And they have their hands full with their routine, like I know the park rangers every morning have to start in every park and clear those parks to make sure there's no problems and no tents and no whatever, so they.
So yes, I mean, I don't wanna get too far into this, but when the Rangers reported to us, it unfortunately got to the point that they were getting in situations that were challenging.
No, I understand.
And so police were getting more and more involved and they had more and more discussions with them and they had to get more and more training. Cause I felt concerned about putting them in situations that they really shouldn't be in and walking up on things that they probably shouldn't be walking up on. So we started working with police a lot more. So when our park ranger supervisor at the time retired, decision was to have them supervised by a police sergeant. So that was the first step, and then probably 2 or 3 years after that, they moved over totally because they were doing a lot of training, which is good. I mean, the good thing is now they're much better trained to do their job than they were when they were with us. But we probably get a little bit better police response because they're there as well. But we have lost some control. Luckily, we have a good sergeant and we have a good relationship with the police department. So if we need them somewhere or we have concerns, they're very they'll take care of our concerns. But we don't have the day-to-day operational control over them anymore.
So,
yes.
have they ever thought of using some of the community service aids? I don't know what the
That's
numbers,
exactly what I was gonna say,
what the number of
volunteers.
community service aids that exist out there already, helping the police with whatever.
Yeah.
Using those folks to help with the parks.
Yeah, but there's not many of those and they usually do
Same problem, probably.
Yeah, and they usually do the follow-up like on police, like on a traffic accident, they'll come and release the police officer.
Right.
So they try to do that minor stuff for the police department, so that an officer's not tied up for 3 hours for a traffic accident. So that's been discussed as well. Also parking enforcement's out there, they kind of help us as well. So, they're all kind of driving around and they're all kind of helping and keeping their eyes out, but as far as assigned to a park, no.
What about the community in terms of our volunteer services and bringing money into the neighborhood? Would that be something that you could put out to any of those groups, like the recycling group? I mean, they're always trying to find events to make money for the neighborhood.
Green your routine?
Well, yes, it is green your routine. We've got quite a lot of volunteers. I'm just wondering if there's any way that you could work something out.
I'm happy to work in the butterfly garden with the bathroom.
No. Volunteer to be a presence in the park. So you're really just talking about like Holiday Park and Carter Park. I mean, there's not many
There are
parks
not
over there.
many huge
Holiday
parks.
Park, Carter Park.
You're putting the people at risk.
No, I mean, you
Why
have
would I
exactly
do
the reason.
Riverwalk had the yellow shirt ambassadors, people just to be a presence.
Right.
There's no what do you call it, authority figure based on a yellow T-shirt. So again,
But we can't say no to every idea.
the people-
There's plenty of I've gone to plenty of
it's a
places.
great idea in a utopian
You
environment
didn't have,
world.
Riverwalk used the yellow shirt ambassadors and they were just a presence, they
So let-
rolled around and they were out, the big
But
problem was.
Carrie, let me say, they were paid.
Yes, and that's when events go on too.
We will be
The
paid.
yellow shirt guys were paid.
It's
They were
our,
paid.
it's
So
our
they weren't
points that go into,
They weren't
it's not very
volunteers,
much.
so that's the first thing is that they were paid and I guarantee you, volunteers, I love volunteers,
Okay.
but they may or may not show up,
That's true.
they may or may not be there, and I wouldn't rely on them. If there's groups in the neighborhoods that wanna come in and volunteer to spend some time in the parks, that would be great. I don't know that's, we used to have I forget what we called, not an adopted park, but something where we had neighborhoods that helped out. That kind of faded away because you started with 10, then you got to 5, and then all of a sudden you had 2, and they're like, yeah, we're done with it. So, not to say we could revisit it, but,
Look, activity helps, programming the parks, having
Exactly.
people there, that is the number one deterrent, that's the number one.
Definitely.
So you have the whole.
And as long as they're
Yeah.
comfortable to go there, that's where it's at, but, it's just, shame to do that, and
We need consistency.
Speaking of Starlight Musicals, is there any plan to have extra help with the bathroom. The bathrooms at Starlight Musical were overwhelmed. Starlight Musical.
Overwhelmed in long lines or the
Long lines and they're disgusting.
Well, we'll look into that. I mean, I know we bring out extra portable restrooms for that.
Yes.
And I thought we had someone there working at the entire time.
Last year, we didn't have it last year, but the year before, yeah, there was an attendant, we kind of took care of both restrooms. But, as far as keeping the soap and the paper towel.
Yeah, no, we'll look into that, Charlie. I haven't been out there this year yet, so I wasn't aware of
Past
that.
2 months I've been to, it's.
I think the problem is it's just overwhelmingly popular, so
Yes.
there's extremely a lot of
I
people.
mean, there's a couple thousand
They're
people.
so glad to be there.
Well, yeah, and if we need to get more portables, we can do that.
Yeah.
I think the portables are great, personally.
There was portables there though, yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't have to use the.
So a couple other things I just wanted to bring up on. Does anybody else have any questions on the budget?
I did a little bit. The item 2 there, where it's a reduction, the Las Olas Marina privatization.
Yes.
We're reducing 3 employees and still somehow paying a private vendor more, or is that a loss of revenue of the $534,000?
So that's a loss of revenue.
Okay.
So the way the contract reads is the first year we're paying them in theory. Second year, I think we're flat.
Right.
And then we start making money in the third year and beyond.
Okay. So at some point, that'll turn from us
Yeah.
losing money to actually making money.
So we're putting
just
the
never
money in
seen
while they're doing their improvements, because they can't make revenue at that time, so that was part of the negotiation was what we like.
It makes sense now, but on paper, that initial look, that was like, okay, we just cut staff and still lost money. What in the world?
Yeah, a couple other interesting things a little bit farther up, so as you know, so in the city manager's office, there's a cultural affairs manager. So, as you may remember, we started a public art project and program in the city, and Parks and Rec was kind of the push for that to happen, and we've been taking that on. Carl has, and because, well, I took it on, which meant Carl took it on.
Downhill, right?
I'll be honest. So, and he's been doing a great job, but I think the commission, and this wasn't even one of our requests, but one of the commissioners and the city manager realized that we really need to put more emphasis into the cultural arts and to this public art, and there's money out there to be had if you got time to focus on it and grants and things like that. So that position, if it stays in there, would report to the city manager and would actually be over the public art fund and project along with other cultural type things. And if you look at most cities and counties, they have a cultural arts person, or at least a cultural arts division, so I don't think that's anything different. Then if you go down 2 more, you can see it says President's Day overtime pay. So another discussion was that the city does not, employees don't get President's Day off. Most other cities and the county do. So we used to, back in, when I first started, and then when they decided to recognize Martin Luther King Day, they swapped it out.
Yeah.
So they decided to, it was brought up again by one of the commissioners that everybody else seems to be doing President's Day. So this number here is just for mainly police and fire for overtime that they would have to cover on that day, with it being a holiday. The interesting thing is gonna be, as you probably just saw, that Juneteenth was just approved by in DC, because that had been discussed at the county and actually had been discussed with the city. And the city wanted, was looking at doing it, but then the county wasn't doing it, so it was like, well, let's do President's Day. And then we could talk about Juneteenth or any other holidays beyond that.
Why doesn't the city decide to do, like with the private sector, we're given a certain amount of PTO, they call it, so it's vacation sick. And then the federal holiday, and some of those are federal holidays, okay? But these other federal holidays are floating holidays, so you're allotted, like in my firm, you're allotted 2 floating holidays. And you choose what you want, not Juneteenth, or you want President's Day, or for me, Yom Kippur, or whatever. But that's how the private sector does it.
Yeah, I think most of that is because most cities don't do that, and it's because you're closed. So we actually close on those days.
Okay.
So, we would be closed for business, and so everybody's off that day. I know it's a lot of places, because it makes sense, because we do the same thing. I always thought with sick leave and vacation, it makes no sense, somebody calls in, they're not really sick, but they want the day off, so they call up and say, I'm sick. If you, instead of giving me so many days vacation, so many days of sick leave, just give me a pool of this many days, and if I'm not sick, then I got a lot more vacation, or vice versa. For whatever reason, cities typically don't do that. Government doesn't do that. They give you so many sick days, so many vacation days, so many holiday days, and maybe we're old school, but that's the way it is.
Old school.
So that was the other thing I wanted to bring up as far as the budget goes. So September will be the 2 public hearings. So the board, the commission will actually set the millage rate. The top of the millage rate can be in July, so they can always set it more than the 4.11. I believe that they may. And then in September, then they'll have the 2 public hearings, and then they'll decide definitely on the millage rate and then on the budget. So that'll be, and then October 1st is our new budget. So the other 2 things I want to bring up, and I don't know, I got here just a little late, but I don't know if Carl brought them up, but we got Parks and Rec month. Did you mention that for next month?
No, that's it.
Debbie's gonna be giving a big speech at in July at the commission. You're aware of that, right? Parks and Rec
Commission.
accepting the
Yes.
yes. So
What?
every year in
Yes.
July is Parks and Recreation Month. It's recognized by nationally and by the legislature. So the chair, Caleb can't make it this year, but the chair usually comes to the commission, and the commission will give the proclamation for Parks and Recreation Month. So Debbie's been gracious enough to come, so that'll be the first meeting in July. And so we have that going on. We'll have some other things going on in the month of July just for Parks and Rec Month. The other thing is we are going through our reaccreditation right now. So those that don't know, we are accredited by the national organization. We are one of 188 agencies in the entire country. We were number 101 back in, 10 years ago. So there's only been 80 more since in 10 years. You get reaccredited every 5 years. They're typically in town, but they're doing it by Zoom this year, but that's Monday and Tuesday of next week. A lot of work, but it's a great feather in the department's hat that we are accredited. It shows that your policies, procedures, your staffing, everything's the way it should be. And so they'll have reviewers that come in and or do it on Zoom, review all of our information, give us any feedback, and so that's coming up. And then the last thing, just because it came to this board, you may remember we were looking at purchasing a property at 1700 North Andrews with some of the park bond money. That one looks like it's not going to happen. I just want to make you aware of it since it did come through this board. When we got into our due diligence and started doing some testing, that soil's pretty dirty out there. So I'm not for sure what used to be there, but it's quite a bit to clean it up, and the property owner does not want to clean it up and doesn't want to come down on the price or pay to get it cleaned up, so we pretty much walked away from that property.
Other properties we're looking at, I heard there was something going on off of Broward Boulevard and near the Salvation Army.
We are looking at other properties, but I don't know if anyone over
And
there.
in terms of building the yard and the city's new building?
No, this is
For parks.
for parks.
I'm not familiar with that site, but we are continuing to
They
look.
want parks and the radio tower, the new radio tower.
Oh, yeah, that's on the south.
The south
across the
side,
street.
behind the old burglar alarm place.
Yeah, so they're the Chansey,
Yes.
Tom Chansey's
Tom Chansey.
property back in there. And so we've looked at it for parks, and depending on the price and the access, because it's kind of hidden. I mean, it's nice to keep, natural areas, and we're good with that as long as, it's got some public use. And then the police is also looking whether they can move that tower, because they want to move the tower, but they have to, all the logistics, but it's gotta be fairly close, and that big old tower's gonna be nice to move. So, But yeah, that property is being looked at, and we have other ones out there that Colliers is continuing to work on. We get input from various people. Again, if anybody knows any that you want us to look at, let us know.
Dog park versus North Beach,
Yeah,
North Beach
we
Village.
got that one. We're also looking at skate park property. That's been discussed. You know, there's an idea of having a skate park. I don't know that, I think it's one of those, you know, we're going way down the skate park road before. It's kind of the NIMBY idea. We'd love to have a skate park, but don't put it in my neighborhood or don't put it next to me. Because they are noisy and they're an interesting
Group of people.
Do they make money? I mean,
Yeah,
I
you can.
they're positive things.
So we are looking at, hopefully, you know, we're looking at probably more of a commercial area, maybe in a commercial area, not a residential area to do that. We're also looking at maybe, you know, there's some cities that have done it under interstates, things like that. So we are pursuing the idea of that. Still pursuing, I know you talked about pickleball, we're still pursuing the idea of where we could put a pickleball complex, how that's gonna work. So we're still looking around. We still have money to spend, so we have some properties.
How big does a skate park need to be? How big?
Well, I've been told you can almost do it on a couple lots.
We were gonna do it on the top of the garage last time.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, you could probably do it, so what's a lot, 50 by 100, you know, if it's 100 by 200,
I think you're.
yeah, so, I mean, that's probably minimum, but depending on what you're gonna do there, but, you know, I'm not a skater, but, I think if you have the 4 or 5 main things that you're looking for and give them the opportunity, you could probably do it on.
I got an idea for the alcohol can on that. I work up in Cypress Creek and there's a spot kind of close to the tri-rail. And, you know, it could help push tri-rail ridership and it's still within the city and the Cypress Creek back to your commercial.
Yes,
Yeah,
we have some-
west of the charter station.
Just west of Travis.
Yeah.
Where the old bowling alley or something was, wasn't it
Well,
bowling?
that's east, that's, but,
That comes.
there's a lot happening over there. And I keep hearing you say put it on a roof. I have to say, I drive around and I keep looking for a roof, right? And I keep thinking that a shopping center or a mall or something like that, you could put a skate park on top until a kid jumps off.
Well, I was just gonna say,
But they seem to be.
I mean, you could also have 20 feet of dead space between.
But you know what, I think that somebody's gonna find a way to fly.
I just see driving around looking for a
It's interesting because when you look at the cost of real estate in the city, we're like maybe 5 or 6 years away from everyone realizing like, oh wait, we're wasted a lot of rooftop space. I mean, you go to Chicago, go to cities where like everyone's priced out and suddenly everyone's reclaiming roofs. Like, why are we acting now like, oh, we have land to spare? We don't have any land to spare. We have no land to spare. We're wasting our roofs. They could be so. Why would you tear up grass to build something you could put on a roof that's just gonna be a nasty, ugly roof anyway? You know, the only issue is the load capacity. But when you're talking about something like putting tennis court,
That's all.
but load capacity
it's real doable.
no, but low capacity only becomes an issue if you're talking about putting grass on a roof. But if you're talking about like putting a tennis court on a roof, that's 2 people and a net and a ball. That's, I mean,
Have you, I
'cause this-
gotta ask you,
this is what
have you ever
happens-
played tennis on a roof? Cause I have.
it's windy.
so hot.
Look, you can have sun. Everything can't be a no, guys. There's sunshades. Like there's ways to do it. It can absolutely be done.
Great creativity. Don't get frustrated.
Don't give up.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at all these, I'm going shopping center.
Well, I mean, the new government center is going to have a parking garage. I'm sure. Now, maybe the building's going to be on top of the parking garage, but if the building's on top of the parking garage,
The parking garages are the best place for that.
I mean, what's going to be on the roof of what's going to be on the top level of the Holiday
now
Park
that they're
parking
building
garage?
it, now
The
you
bar.
They've got a rooftop bar, dude, right downtown, with grass,
Yeah.
Wait, which one?
the rooftop.
Yeah, the rooftop.
The new Marriott you're talking about?
No, the one at the end of, on Andrews at the end of Las Olas, it's a rooftop
Yeah.
bar.
Oh, you talking about four West or whatever it's called?
Something like that,
I
yeah.
think it's called the rooftop bar.
It's a rooftop
There's
bar.
a grassy area where
Yeah.
you can sit and fire pits and all sorts of
Up on the
wonderful
roof.
things.
But they built it like that.
Within the last.
The one that was built like it's like 5 or 6 years old.
No, I just opened up a couple of years ago.
Well,
Just-
about 5 years
just-
ago.
I don't think it was
No, no, it has only been.
It's, I know, it's just south of the township, it's right over
Yeah,
here,
it's right next to township.
just west of.
That's not a true, so I'm a big rooftop bar purist. It's not a true rooftop bar because you don't have 360 degrees. To have a real rooftop bar, restaurant, anything you need. No, there's a reason for this.
Then you have to come to.
Jerry's rooftop bars.
No, there's a reason. You don't get a breeze. I've been to that place. I've been to Sparrow also. If
Then
you
you need to
have
come to my house.
if you have a wall on both of those, Sparrow and that one, and probably Easton on top of the new whatever, they all have a wall on the west west side.
Yeah.
So you actually don't get
Yeah,
any
yeah.
breeze whatsoever. And so they have to put up some superstructure to have fans and all this stuff.
When you
True-
can hear each other talk.
and you're not really in a rooftop anymore. You're just in like a kind of open air facility, a true rooftop. Like what we could do on top of the ice building there, you put fake grass, you have sunshades, like what we could do on the top of Riverwalk Center. On the top of Riverwalk Center, you put down fake Riverwalk Center, the parking garage where the helipad is. You put down fake grass, you put up sunshades, you put up picnic tables, you put out like some tetherball, some badminton, and you just make it a gathering place for people. People will come.
Well, the heliport's getting
Build,
moved,
they will
so
come.
The heliport's even, the whole reason we didn't do anything on that roof is because Lee was like, a helicopter's gonna crash on everybody and we can't do it.
Is it being moved, really?
Well, they're talking about putting, if we ever get the new combined city hall, maybe.
Government
over
center,
Would that
government
be the
complex.
helipad? Then we can do something with Riverwalk Center.
there.
Does anybody else have anything?
I think we're good. Yeah, let's get this thing moving.
All right, board comments. Do we have any board comments?
We already had board comments.
I mean, we've had a lot of board comments here.
I move that we move the helipad. A motion to move the helipad.
Is that a communication to the commission?
No, it's a motion. On the table.
Under board comments or under communications?
New business.
Okay.
Remember, we are Parks and Rec. in case
There's
you
no
didn't
new
think.
business, there's no new business
I'm
on
gonna
the
put a park on the top of
agenda.
Riverwalk Center.
Definitely.
Okay, you know what?
I think it's a great idea. I think the people at home would say, yes, there should be a park on the top of
Gary,
Riverwalk
can
Center.
I take you down to the rooftop
I
bar
think
and
we have
buy you
enough
a beer or
concrete.
something?
Right now.
Okay, you're coming down.
Okay, go ahead, Kayla.
Okay, Kayla, can we
Let us
just,
put
can we
board comments. Are there any board comments for real?
Not
Yes, it's great to be back together.
Oh,
Agreed.
yes,
Isn't it
absolutely.
nice?
Yeah,
You can tell we're missed everybody because we
Yeah.
can't stop talking. That's what it is.
It's not 8:30 yet, usually it's like 8:30 by the time we finish these meetings.
8:45.
Phil needs a drink.
That was the longest one.
You just left at 8:30.
No.
We still have two more items.
We just got them.
You delaminated it.
They all right there.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it?
Alright, well, let's get on to the next item.
All right,
Okay, all right.
communications to commission.
Order.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Caleb's trying to talk.
Uh-oh, delamination.
Come on, do some.
All right, I'm trying to be polite. Communications to commission, do we have anything that we directly need to discuss or not directly?
Rooftop
but send?
parks.
Only our motion to approve.
I have one thing. I don't have anything to communicate to the commission, but the last time we did this for the one-stop shop.
It didn't get.
I don't know if anybody saw it
I did.
at their meeting. I was so, and it's not our fault, I was so disappointed. The mayor read it, it's like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. It was like such a non-event, if any of you saw it.
I did.
And I complained to my commissioner, I said, that's just really irritated me to no end that, we went to that, we
And it's just-
discussed it, we put it together, a letter was written, and it was just kind of like,
Glossed over.
it was just, so that's,
It was like, why did we bother?
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Why did
if
why did
you-
they put this on the agenda?
So if any of you have any relationships with your own commissioners, I would like you to like complain to them about it, because I did to mine more than one time.
I do have a question.
We could add for the
No,
next meeting
Heather.
agenda, which isn't in July, but maybe August, try and come up with an update on where One Stop Shop is, if that, I know for a while that unsolicited proposal was kind of behind the magic curtain.
I can answer that because we had the city manager at the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Associations. And it's still that unsolicited
Yeah.
proposal, the P3, there's a process, which is really, I find confusing that is the way the process is, but it's secret. No one, none of us and any of the neighborhoods have seen the actual, if somebody's seen it, please speak up. drawings of what they wanna do.
Is that because
Flagler-
it's a bid and so do
Who's they?
procurement?
Like all the Flagler Village, all the, I think the commissioners
They wanted a park.
have seen some of it, I'm not sure, I mean, we all know it's a music venue.
That's separate.
And it's, no, that's who's going for the park, that's,
Yeah, Revolution Live
I know,
wants.
I know it's
Revolution-
Revolution, but that's not what Flagler Village wants.
no.
Right, I'm sorry.
And Revolution Live is on a big piece of property that's in the throes of possibly being developed by, what's his name?
Ready group.
Kushner,
Oh, Broward Crossing?
Jared
Yeah.
Kushner, we know.
his father.
Oh, that's what Broward Crossing is gonna be?
Oh.
Him, that felon and his 4 felon friends, but that's not what I really want. So there's a process that the city manager has described, and I think that process is still ongoing. It doesn't feel good, cause I feel like it's secret, but when he describes it, you're like,
It's a secret, that's
Maybe we
all.
could ask for somebody in the city to provide us an
We
update.
have, what,
At the
I'm
next
sorry, we've
Parks Advisory
been
Board.
asking and asking.
I don't know who that person would have to be.
city
But it
manager,
would
the city
maybe-
manager,
Maybe the
Chris
city
is gonna be the
manager.
one.
right?
Maybe we could
Right,
ask
Phil, it's city manager. I
Yeah,
know
we
it
can make
is.
that request. I don't know if it'd be him or somebody in.
that he designates, but yeah, I think it'd be a good update for the board. Everybody's
Would
very
DRC
curious
or
about it.
PZ know?
It would be great, I would love to have him come and explain it
It'd be
again,
nice.
so I can,
Is there
See if-
anything going on with Lockhart Park, the second, the south half development of the park?
AECom's still working through the conceptual on that.
Now, is that on the building or on the pad? Cause I know, I don't know if I'm supposed to spill this or not. I was supposed to be involved in a planning meeting maybe 2 weeks ago
That's unbelievable.
regarding the park. The planning meeting actually got canceled here because it's gotta go back to commission, I think, on July 6th. But the question basically on that is the original agreement, Jorge Moss, Miami International, were on the hook for about $3 million to develop the green space of Lockhart Park directly adjacent to the south, I guess, of the stadium.
Right.
In the park's bond was an additional $25 million that was gonna be for the community center, the splash pad, other improvements the city was gonna be doing. My understanding is the meeting that was canceled 2 weeks ago got canceled because Miami International, whatever it is,
The soccer team.
the soccer team is pushing that they don't wanna develop the park anymore themselves, they wanna give that $3 million to the city and have the city develop it. Commissioner Moritas is very concerned about that because understanding of timelines, they built that stadium in a year, they could build that park in a year or less.
Right.
If they give the $3 million to the city, it's going to sit for 5, 10, you name it, how long.
forever.
So she's got this agenda item, I guess July 6th, to try and push the city commission at large to hold Miami International, whatever they are, the soccer company's feet to the fire to stick to that original agreement. It was actually something I wanted to bring up potentially for communication to the commission as a board to potentially push a recommendation that we move forward encouraging the city to stay with Miami International, whatever it is, to push that project
Hold to
forward,
the contract.
hold them to the contract. Problem is, I don't know the exact language I wanna throw into that communication.
Phil, how do you feel about that?
Well, like Caleb said, the challenge is there's a lot of factors that factored into it. And some of it was on the city side because when they got ready to, when they were building the stadium, they were gonna build the park at the same time.
Yes.
At that time, the city was trying to decide what they wanted to do there. So as we were trying to figure out what they were gonna do, they continued to build the stadium. And then we really weren't ready, and then COVID hit, and they kind of finished. And so I think they probably have some rights to say that, you know, we can do it, but it's not gonna be at the same price it was before. Because this is what we said we would do, and that was 2 or 3 years ago, and they were mobilized at that time to do it at the same time. Now they're gonna have to bring everything back. So that's been some of the problem is when you look at the numbers, they're saying, okay, yeah, at the time, this probably would have cost us 3 million, now it's gonna cost us 6. So where's the other 3 coming from? So the attorneys are working on it, they're trying to work through the agreement to see, and I don't know which way is better to do it. If they give us a fair dollar amount, it may be better than we do it ourselves. Because we still have, somebody still has to design it, somebody still has to decide what's gonna go there. We haven't gotten there yet.
There wasn't any structures in what they were building though, was there?
Yeah.
No, it was all land and landscape.
No, there was a
and-
building, there was a building.
No.
The building was getting built by us at 25 million, there was no building, so I don't understand the timeline there or the difference, that much difference in the
So the
price.
community center, the splash pad, that's all on
That's
our portion.
That's on ours, yeah.
Yeah, but they were gonna build it for us.
I thought that they were gonna be
They were gonna
doing
build it
all
for
of
us. Well, that's what I understood from Heather. They
I
were gonna build
understood they
it,
were
not that they were
gonna
gonna
do
pay
it
for it, but they were gonna build it for us.
No, I thought
No,
we were
that's
building
falling
that
under
ourselves.
ACO.
Well, we were gonna fund it. I think initially, it was the same question we're having today, is who's gonna do it, who's gonna build it?
Well, what if,
That's what I'm
if they,
saying.
if they
I
have
thought
the
they were gonna build it.
resources to bring in everything, what if we give them our $25 million and let them do everything?
It's
It's
gonna
not-
come in cheaper than
Yeah,
25
you don't
from
need
what I
25
understood.
million. So the 25 million was initially for the entire property. That was before
Yeah.
even Inter Miami was in the conversation. So that's why you got 25 million, and we had, what was it,
So we
7
weren't gonna
acres?
use it all there.
We were gonna make that whole place a park.
Yeah.
So then when Inter Miami came in, they took up half of it, and then they were gonna also build a park for us, so that maybe made it less. So we're not gonna spend near the 25 million. We did add the community center and the splash pad, so
Right.
that's gonna be some of that 25 million. But you're probably looking at, I think that's 5 or 6 million.
Right.
10 million.
I guess that was like, I mean, I remember Heather like rushing and like
Yeah.
she came in here, she would have like a new design every time, like, hey guys, cause she was getting it all approved. I mean, we approved,
Yes, I
to the
remember
extent there
that.
was any approval needed. She came in, she presented everything, she's like, I gotta move quickly, she had all of her community meetings and she came back, she showed us the final thing. What was the thing that wasn't approved? I thought we were looking at like a final
I did.
project.
Well, the big thing that kicked in was COVID. I mean, you had a year that really, nothing was happening. There was discussions back and forth. Inter Miami was trying to figure out when they were gonna open, not open. So they really just, it didn't go very far. And there's been different, probably many different ideas on what should go there.
So there's not even like a final schematic for
There-
what would be built yet?
Final schematic. But and Caleb can test this, every time we look at it, it changes.
Mhm.
Good reasons.
I have seen it a lot too.
But
It has
it's like,
changed a
well,
lot.
maybe we need to do this and let's move this over here. And so hopefully the last one is final. And then like Caleb says,
Final though it's not.
this meeting, the idea with the meeting with Inter Miami was they were gonna either come in and say, we'll do it ourselves and you can do the rest, or you guys could do it and this is the money that we'll give you for it. And they were gonna give us whatever that dollar figure is. And then the city would in theory say, okay, either you do it or give us your money and we'll do it ourselves. For whatever reason, the meeting didn't happen, it was canceled. I don't know if in Miami didn't have, the numbers finalized yet or whatever, but, so I guess we'll see if Vice Mayor's gonna bring it up on the 6th. I mean, she's driving this thing, so, I mean, I don't, in my own personal opinion, I don't know if the board needs to make it, encourage her to do it, because she's doing it.
Well, she's my commissioner, and yeah, I know she's doing
I
it.
mean, it's very high on her priority list, and we talk a lot, but it's been frustrating for her, and I think it's been somewhat frustrating for Inter Miami, because just a lot of moving parts to try to get this thing figured out.
That was too good to be true. I thought it really, it's just,
All right.
somebody came in and offered.
So
and said
it
they
wasn't,
did it,
there's no
and
sense
they-
in making a recommendation.
Yeah, because she's already driving it,
Yeah.
the train is already on.
Yeah, and if Caleb's saying she's gonna bring it up on the 6th, then,
I've heard that, yeah.
They don't need us chiming in. They've got,
You know how strongly they take our recommendations.
But what am I reading here? So, all right.
are we done?
I hate to bring this continue this conversation, but just, I know you mentioned about communication to the commission and you talked about the naming of the park earlier. So just, I guess, the way I typically do things is, we have minutes, you guys voted on that proposal, so there's no need to do a communication to the commission on that. The minutes will be included in the commission agenda item. The communication to the commission will be something that is important to you all, but it really is not something that you would vote on, that would go to the commission to vote on. So I just want to make sure that you guys are kind of clear on.
Talking about the Riverwalk.
Yes, so that one you would need you don't need a commission communication on, we'll just use the minutes, and that's all we need because you voted on it. Again, the communication is more about something that's very passionate to you all, that you want them to focus on, like stop shop.
Yeah.
Dog park stuff.
I have a communication just to you guys, and that is, can you please ask AECom, can you please just tell AECom, like, look, Panthers are building this building, the War Memorial is going to be partially used by Panthers for their own money-making ventures like concerts and things like that, but there will be some times that it will be available to the public for community use. And to really make that work, it's probably gonna need to be like some sort of programmed community use or something like that. Can you guys think about, you know, cause they're the ones that saw all the feedback, like what community, I wanted it just open for like just complete free play. I wanted them to put like indoor climbing apparatus in there and just a place where neighborhood kids and families could just go in and hang out when it's too hot or rainy outside. I don't think there's any chance of that happening. But I think that what it sounds like is we really need to be coming to the table and saying this is what we want. And I think if AECom is thinking about like what should the park look like, then, and they're seeing all the feedback, then part of that scope would be, and especially, I don't know if they're having any conversations with YMCA or not about like what's gonna be indoor, what's not gonna be indoor, who's gonna be in charge of what. But it seems like it's something that they should be thinking about, like this is a potential area where there could be an opportunity for community recreation and community use, but we kind of need to come to the table to Panthers and say, we would like, you know, weekday evenings 5 to 8 for indoor pickleball or whatever it is, but coming to them and saying what we want rather than just waiting on them to tell us, okay, this is what we have left over. And I doubt there'll be much left over.
But you gotta remember, Carrie, it's their building.
I understand it's their building.
Excuse me. Like their ownership at this point, so.
But at every meeting I was ever at with everybody along the way, I was like, there will definitely be community, it will definitely be made available to the community for community uses at some point. I mean, so I understand what you're saying.
No, I think
but I just think we need to be clear with them for what we're asking for.
I think they'll be good community partners. I don't know if they're gonna get it for free. I mean, they got paid off, they're in it to make money. There's no doubt they're in it to make money. So we'll see. And I don't know what the agreement states. My guess is it's not in the agreement anymore. So it's just gonna be them wanting to do it because they're a good neighbor. But you know, if they have time when the building's dark and we have a need for it, I'm sure they would, you know, they may say we need to cover the cost of electricity and security and things like that. And I think they'll be willing to do that, but until they figure out when those times are, because it's gonna be busy. They're gonna, you know, those sheets of ice will be busy every day from 6 in the morning to midnight. The building.
But there will be open skate, right? I mean, they'll be busy, but part of that will be open skate.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not really talking about the sheets of ice so much. I'm talking about the War Memorial. It just seems like.
It is ice.
So basically what you're saying,
No.
you're asking the city to have their events, have a scheduled events and propose that to.
Yeah, I wouldn't say events, but just programming.
Just program.
Like Carl, you know, if you guys want to, if you want to use it for something for the summer program, like, or whatever we want to use it for, I just think that we need to identify.
That's what we talked about earlier.
Right, now I'm formally requesting that we ask AECom to think about that and think about like what indoor programmed recreational activity would we like to propose to the Panthers that we have there.
So we'll do that as staff with AECom. But I understand what you're saying.
I totally understand we may not get it, but I just think that we're better off asking for something specific than just saying what's left over.
Oh, yes, thank you, yes, I did bring a few, I guess you call them like trinkets and things that we have here.
Swag.
Party gifts?
So,
Oh, we got swag.
there you go,
I'll have a cup. Can I have a
there
cup?
you go.
Here, Mary.
Oh,
Oh, definitely.
No.
You got more pens?
There you go.
Carl?
There you go.
Did you bring enough for everybody?
What is that?
Do you want a writing pen or a pen pen?
I want it right.
That green writing pen, Carl, send it on down.
Yes.
We have more pens, we have pens.
Depends on what the-
Oh, it is, oh, these are official now.
Oh, no, it's for Tangerine.
Okay, give it to Tangerine.
She got one.
Who wants a pen?
I want a pen.
I don't have a
Writing.
Who wants a pen?
I do it.
No more pens?
If you need some, I'll bring it.
Charlie, you want a pen? Tangerine?
Just tell us, what is this?
It's a towel holder, so if you go to like you should kind of bring your towel over the thing and then clip it.
Oh, it's for the chair. Oh, I like that idea.
One more thing to carry, he wants it.
Yeah.
Your kids want it.
No, I don't take chairs to these. I'm not like when I grew up, my family they always loved all the stuff that they.
Now that I'm all out, does anybody want the actual bag?
I'll take the bag.
Oh, the bag.
Here, Brucey.
I don't want a pen.
Here, take my pen. Here, Brucey. Here, Brucey.
Ready to adjourn?
You
Hey,
need it.
I make a motion to adjourn
It's
this meeting.
okay.
I know
Seconded.
you need this.
Oh, no, I've got a pen. I'm good.
Adjourn.
Woo! All right.